It's been 3 years since my diagnosis. 3 years exactly today. And it is very surreal and very shocking that I'm sitting here about to embark on the biggest journey I ever envisioned. When I was diagnosed with cancer, it was almost like the world was flying by me really fast, and I was in slow motion. I was so shocked.
I give you 5 years, more than likely 3.
I remember the first words I said to the doctor were, "How did this happen to me?" Your mind instantly thinks death. And I'm thinking, like, here we go. This is the start of your new life. That's a ticking time bomb. For these last 3 years, I've carried a weight on me in the back of my mind thinking, this doctor could be right. I really could die in these 3 years. Because unfortunately with my cancer, it could turn aggressive like this with no warning signs. So I live my life knowing this. I live my life knowing that tomorrow is not promised to anybody, but it's certainly not promised to me. I have innumerable lung tumors. At that point, I only had 15 liver cysts. Now I have innumerable. And I found cancer down my leg. And I was expecting, like, where's the chemo? Where's the radiation? Isn't this what we do, is start right now? But no, I was told to go home and wait for a phone call. And so my mom hopped in the car, put me in the passenger seat, and it's an 1.5-hour drive from Moncton, New Brunswick to Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. And I just looked at my mom and I was like, okay, we go home.
Receiving that news on that Friday was just a mother's nightmare. I had to drive the car. I don't know how I drove home to PEI. I really don't. And Michelle made phone call after phone call.
I was so scared to come home to our summer home here. I had to see my kids. My husband I only told over the phone. I had to face my sister. And I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want to worry her. I was more worried for her than I was for myself. Because I love her so much.
What I remember is sitting in the living room up there at the cottage. She was sitting there, I walked in, and I went over and sat with her, and I just said, oh my gosh, you're here, okay, so this is good. And she said, no, it's not good. And I was like, what? Well, you're here. And she said, it's cancer and it's terminal. And I remember just kind of hugging her, and you know, we had our moment or whatever, and it was just life altering, really was.
When it comes to her diagnosis in that period of time, I was crushed, and anytime I tried to find ways out, all of them led back to me raising my children on my own. I didn't have the software for that, so I didn't know what I could optimistically move my way out of that situation with. I didn't know what to do. I was hopeless, yeah, kind of hopeless.
The prognosis was not good, you know. And I thought when we left Moncton, right away we'd get into chemo, we would get into treatment and all that, and that's not how it works in the world, especially an unknown sarcoma that she has.
In one breath, I felt like I was the healthiest sick person you'd ever meet. Like, I truly didn't think I had a body completely littered with cancer. It didn't seem real to me. But in the next breath, hearing how many tumors I had in my body, I was like, there's no way someone could come back from this. There's no way. I couldn't see past the 3 years. I didn't want to at the beginning because I thought, oh, that's depressing. I'm not gonna get past that, so why bother? Getting to this 3-year mark, it's like, wow, this is huge.
3 years ago, Moncton Hospital, getting the news she got. And by now we thought it would be bad. She may not be here. I think it was just the whole thought process for me. I just found the last few summers, right? Leading up to August 20th, I just always get a little anxious, get a little kind of, replay that summer all over again. At least I know I do, because I was here all summer with her kids and my kids, and they were in the hospital off and on. So I think I just was like, wow, okay. Our lives changed on this date, August 20th, 2021.
I can remember leaving the hospital and the turns my mom took. I can remember looking at my window and seeing all these sights. Going through that exact route, it's so important, it's so emotional for me. Obviously in a traditional triathlon, you swim, then you bike, and then you run. It wasn't gonna work in Moncton. I wanted to leave from Moncton Hospital. That's where my story was. It wasn't in the closest water area near Moncton Hospital. And so when the idea came to leave from Moncton on foot to run first, it was like, why wouldn't I do that? Because running was the first step in my new life. Going back and knowing how I'm making it back home and how I'm retracing these steps by running and biking and then swimming 100+ kilometers. I can't believe it.
I was not on board at all. I was not on board with something like this straight away because everything was going great. Like, it was just like, why rock the boat here? Like, you're getting out of it exactly what I figured you could, but like, why are we really chasing the tip of the spear when we just want to kind of, let's keep you around.
The big sister of me was like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. That is way too far and everything else. You're crazy. I worry about her running on the roads that she's going to be on, biking on the roads she's going to be on. Like, oh man, that's,
I was scared for her because it was a lot longer than she's ever done. It still amazes me every day that a grown woman full of cancer, her lungs and her liver and her leg, like, it amazes me that she's capable of doing this.
Oh, which way? This way.
Hi, are we all ready?
Like, look at these odds that this doctor put up against you and listen to your new oncologist who said, just live. She said, just live because she has hope for me. And I need to give it my all to believe in the hope that she has for me.
Does anybody else smell bacon? I feel like it's
When Ty and I were together, we got married, we knew we were gonna have fertility issues because I had dealt with cysts repeatedly and had multiple surgeries and were told that we were gonna have trouble. So when we overcame the fertility challenges and got pregnant with Gabriel, Dean Joseph, our first child, our entire world changed. We were so excited, we were overjoyed, we were thrilled. The ultrasound, all I cared about was 10 little toes, 10 little fingers, like just being like, look at this beautiful baby. And when we went for a follow-up ultrasound and they told us that our baby wasn't gonna make it, it crushed us. It's a heartache I can't even describe. And when it was time to deliver him, and we were told that he had passed right before my delivery, I was so scared. I had to say hello and goodbye all in one day, and I can tell you with every part of my being, he was worth every ounce of pain that I endured. When I was diagnosed with cancer, the heartache was similar. I tackled it head on. Just like after when we said goodbye to Gabriel, I used that same pain as power. I'm gonna be hyper-focused, nothing's gonna get in my way, and we're gonna keep moving forward.
You like a lot of answers, and I don't have any.
That's all right.
It's just like another metaphor of training.
Very good at.
If you expect to show up to a powerlifting meet having never picked up a barbell, then you're probably gonna struggle. But if you're exposing your body, your mind, your spirit to the intensity that's going to happen, your body can adapt and can sustain the trauma that you're going to expose yourself to. And if you do that voluntarily, then it's all the better. But Unfortunately, we weren't voluntarily in that situation with Gabriel, but I think it did temper her spirit. She's always been strong-willed, like crazy strong-willed. Ready? Yeah. Got this, bud.
All right. I think he'd be up there cheering me on. He has so many beautiful people up there caring for him. But Mama is someday going to be with him, and that's why I'm not scared to die. But not today. I'm not dying today.
When she left there yesterday, I was on fire, excited for her.
Feels pretty good to run out of there this time. Here we go. Running out of the hospital this time, seeing Ty right there. To describe it in one word, it was powerful. Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this. Then looking across the crosswalk to Carolyn, it was like, all right, let's do this. I'm ready. It felt amazing. It feels good to run out of that hospital. Oh my gosh, here we go.
Her being able to walk out of those doors under her own power was as much a part of the reframe as the entire route.
I never would have never pictured you as
The priority for this event for me is help my wife reframe that route. She equates that route to lack of control and lack of ownership on her terms. So I want her to confiscate that back and reframe it for herself.
I'm very stubborn. I'm a very stubborn person. I feel like I could do anything that I set my mind to. If I'm focused on something, I'm gonna make it happen.
It's like anything that Michelle wants to do. If she wants to do something, she's going to find a way to convince or compel you to do it. So I know my lane and I stay in it. And I'm happy with that. And I love it, and I love her to death.
Pretty good route so far, Carolyn. We're doing pretty good. It was the middle of the night, and I was laying beside my husband who was asleep, and I was just scrolling, just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, and all of a sudden I came across this one reel. And it was this beautiful woman named Nikki, and she was doing a headstand and laughing hysterically at herself. And I smiled, and I dove into her platform and found out that she had stage 4 cancer. And I was like, okay, wait a second. If this girl can do this, I need to get out of this bed, and I need to do that.
She actually got it up on my TV and we watched it, and that made my heart. She says, Mom, that's what I want to do. I want to be positive and happy and carry on my life. And the next day, she got on the treadmill.
I thought I could just pick up and start running, but I couldn't. I had to learn to walk first and then eventually start running. And that's when I decided my life is never going to go backwards. I'm going to keep moving forward. Running was the first step in my new life, living with cancer and setting myself up for success. I learned how to run first.
I could see incrementally that she was like, I wonder what would happen if I go a little bit more and a little bit more, and like maybe I could do this, or let's see what happens here.
So with running, I always say I feel free to fly. I literally feel free when I run. It has shown me strength and power that I didn't believe I was capable of.
Okay, girls are outside the worst part of the run, or I would say probably the one that has any safety issue whatsoever. So we're just making our way to the outskirts of Moncton here now. There's one last merge lane that they have to deal with, and then it should be smoothish sailing.
Beep, beep, out of my way!
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Saved your life.
You can foot after that, I guess.
Sorry.
They saved my life, thank you.
Every time she would get out, every time she would hit the pavement, she would get stronger and stronger and stronger, and she just has not diverted from that.
I was really nervous about the weather actually going into this event because a few days prior, it was calling for a hurricane. And I think 2 days before, the hurricane took like a sharp turn on a Sunday. The event was on a Tuesday, so we were like, okay, I do have a genuine fear of thunder and lightning to begin with. And so I was a little nervous about that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what we were at, like around 10 to 12 kilometer mark, it started to downpour. When it was raining, I did have thoughts in my mind, and I actually said aloud to Carolyn, like, okay, what is it gonna be like to bike on this? I'm still new to biking. I don't think I've ever biked on wet pavement before. I look over at Carolyn, like, how is this gonna go?
Carolyn and Shell have been doing a lot of big runs together since she's made the shift in her lifestyle towards exercise, and it's been a big encouragement for her. Like with the run, Carolyn had said, like, they started to speed up a bit because Michelle would get excited. And Carolyn knows enough to pull on the reins a little bit with Shell, and it evens out perfectly every single time whenever they do these events together, where they always end up on the perfect pace for what had to happen. And it's a testament to their relationship, totally.
Carolyn's incredible. I get teary. I have a goal and I tell her and she's like, let's make it happen. I'm right there beside you.
How many kilometers you in? 19?
Ready?
Getting pretty close.
I can tell you with 100% certainty I could not have done that run without Carolyn. There's no way. Being able to run alongside of her gives me this motivation like no other. We were doing our jumping photos and just like having fun, and that's what running's all about. And that's what I wanted this event to be, was making it fun and joyful. I got to do that with her.
We are at the Shediac sign, which is the transition point. First transition point where she's going to get on the bike.
We did it! We did it! We did it! We did it! Oh!
Good job, babe. Great job.
Good job, honey.
I couldn't have
You're gonna do amazing.
Oh, I'm so grateful to you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible. You're the most incredible woman.
We did it.
Oh God, I get to share this with you.
Oh, this isn't our last half marathon.
I'm gonna have to tell my neighbor I need to borrow the bike again.
I think you're gonna have to get yourself a real bike, Carolyn.
Oh, we'll see.
Our feet got sore at one point, like mine did in particular. My foot, that's awful. I could start feeling a blister forming. And then I was like, ooh, that's kind of sensitive. I remember at one point thinking in my head when I saw my blisters, thank goodness the run was first in some way, because if those would have formed, let's say, like on the cycling portion, and then you have a whole 21-kilometer run ahead of you with those blisters, I would have felt them, and it would have been very painful, obviously. Good. Oh, I got a blister. Oh my gosh, my poor toe. When I peeled off my sock and I saw my toe and my blister on the side, like it hurt as much as it looked as awful as it did.
I know she can run for days, and that's great, but like the last couple of runs, she had like some calf pain, shin splints, and I didn't know how she would dial back a bit and realize that like this is gonna be a long day. I need to like enjoy this for what it is and try and get through the run. I was really nervous with my cancer leg. So this leg, I do have lymphedema within this leg. I didn't know how it was gonna react. So I wear my compression, socks right up there, just in hopes to help that swelling, to keep it down as much as possible. I was a little bit worried getting my cycling shoes on. Like, am I gonna feel this? Because I'm gonna have to bike for like 100 kilometers. Like, how's that gonna feel?
Get my cycling shoes on because I'm a cyclist now. Woo! All right, jacket on.
I didn't own a bike. The last bike I rode, I truly believe was a 3-wheel tricycle when I was a child. It was called my big wheel. But I couldn't be a cyclist. I couldn't clip in and just take off. There's no way, no way. So I heard Ted's the guy you go to get yourself a bike. Very much recommended. So I walk in and the first thing I said to Ted was, I just want a pink bike. That's all I care. Any bike you got, I'll just take a pink one. And he was like, excuse me? And I was like, Yeah, any bike's fine. I'm gonna get into triathlons, but it just needs to be pink. That's the only thing I care about.
She did the vast majority of her preparation for this and for triathlon in general in our garage on a trainer that Ted provided. If she didn't have that provision, then it never would have happened.
He sent Ty a message and said, I need Michelle to come into the shop. I want to take her out on the open road for the first time. And I arrive at a shop, and he had said, okay, Michelle, it's time to get her stuff on. We're going to go out and go for a bike. Go grab your bike. And I start walking towards where I thought my bike was. He goes, no, it's your bike over there. It's this beautiful, pink, purpley sparkle bike. So then it was time to go for my first outdoor bike ride. And I looked at Ted and I was like, Ted, I can't clip in. I've never even biked outside before. I don't think we should clip in first.
You know what kind of work we have to do?
I was wobbly. Like, I was just learning to balance. And he's like, oh, you really are a beginner. I was like, yes, I am, Ted.
Onto the bike, fuel taped on.
Biking is still so new to me. I just started in January and I just learned to clip in, like literally clip my shoes into my bike where you're locked in it. That was a huge fear of mine. It was a huge learning curve, and to be honest, it's still something I'm terrified about. It's probably my biggest fear going into this event. I hopped on my bike and I took off, and you guys were like, we'll catch up to you, we'll see you in a minute. And I will tell you, I did start freaking out because there was no one around me.
I had some major concerns about when she first started on the road about traffic. There's some immediate danger risk.
I find bike the scariest part. All summer long I've been training out here in the country. The gravel's broken up, there's potholes everywhere. It's been really scary, and you have a lot of trust in the drivers that are around you, that they're gonna see you and they're gonna respect you and that you're gonna share the road together. It is a big fear of mine. I just really appreciated New Brunswick having that huge shoulder. Like that, I don't think we could have done this. It wouldn't have been, the safety factor wouldn't have been worth it. The entire drive, I remember just like looking out the window, and you question when you hear that you're diagnosed with a terminal illness. Will I ever see these same things again? There's this random park on the drive on the highway. And I remember seeing that park and being like, I don't know if I'll ever get to play with Adeline and Hatton at this park or get to play at a park. It's like all those things go through your head. It was wild.
So she's fighting the wind a little bit. It's not crazy wind, but it's just enough probably to take the wind out of her sails. We are about to stop in Chimogue at that park.
I need my chafing stuff. Hi. Oh man.
You almost had it perfect, bud.
I am. That's huge. Like, I think when I see the bridge, I'm gonna be like, wow. Yeah, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. All right. I love you. Okay. Yeah, to the bridge. Yeah, I can't get over that. I think it's too nerve-wracking. I'm just so new. All right, I'm gonna run. Get another run in. All right. Knowing that I was going on the bike through this roundabout, like it's massive. It's to go to New Brunswick, to go to Nova Scotia, or to go into the town, or go to PEI. And I was freaking out. I could see multiple cars coming from the PEI direction, and I'm getting ready to get out, and I'm thinking, if any of these cars proceed to where we are, like, I'm gonna have to stop. And it just so happened 10 cars all turned into New Brunswick and gave me like smooth sailing to get out. In that roundabout, I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go as fast as I can. I felt like I was like in Indy 500. Like, I was flying. I get out of the roundabout and I get to where we're going. I look over at Ty in the truck and I was like, woo! Like, it was wild. It's just me and the bike. It's 3 hours and 55 minutes of just being in my own thoughts. But at one point, I just think of Juliet and a song came in my head and it's Unstoppable by Sia, which is like her and I, we love that song, and she'll always hear the radio go, Mama, it's your song. I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. It's a song that Juliet and I will sing together, especially on my rough days when I was taking my daily cancer treatment and the pain was really bad or my mouth sores were really bad. We'd sing it together. It was just a beautiful moment to just think of Juliet in that moment and be like, she'd be really proud of me if she saw this. I'm definitely running on a high, especially coming on this last break of road here before the bridge. It's amazing. I can't believe that I'm actually doing it. I'm so proud. And I'm so grateful, and knowing that I'm that much closer to getting to my kids and to show them another example of cancer not defining me, especially Juliet, who's 8, you know? She gets it, and I can't wait to show her how strong I am, and I hope she's really, really proud.
So another example of this not being the person that I married. So we're into some road work now. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? I thought maybe she would just stop and we can just wait. But then she just blew through the whole thing. Right past everyone, cut across a couple lanes, across the road, going right through the construction site. So she didn't like to break rules back in the day, but now she's at least looking to exploit the gray area of the rules, which is great. You're all about that, right, Bess?
Oh, every time. Just crooked enough.
I nearly died. I'm not even kidding in that construction. Like, when I had to go over like the sidewalk, you know, we like made the game plan. I wasn't going to go on the rivets of the road. I was going to go on like the shoulder. But every like, I don't know, a little bit, there'd be like a little groove. I went over my bike over that first one. I was talking to you, Lance, and I was like, I nearly fell. That was the closest call. Like, it was rough. We're doing it. We're doing it.
You got it, bud.
Mwah. How do you feel?
I'm honestly I know that that's like a slow piece to the whole puzzle. Like, the bike is quote unquote boring, but like I know things are going to start ramping up again now that we're getting closer to the swim, which is going to be difficult. The run was really chaotic, so it was like go 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 go. Everything was all over the place and chaotic, and then the bike was just like slow and mundane. But I know it was difficult for you with the wind.
Oh, I don't feel that at all. Totally different.
Yeah, probably.
Totally different experience, because the wind has been like, it has been rough. Like, there's been a few times where like I'm like wiggly because the wind is really taking me, but I feel amazing, and I feel
I just want you to be
I
able
feel
to
so
see the
good.
kids.
And I'm so close to them.
Yeah.
Let's go. I gotta look at the kitties. Like 20 some K left. And then I guess I gotta swim. I guess I gotta go for a swim.
Like it, and
The Confederation Bridge, beautiful bridge we have on our island. It's 13 kilometers. No pedestrians allowed to walk it, bike it, nothing. We made the plan that I get off my bike right before the bridge, bike goes into the truck, I hop in the truck and we drive over. I was worried of how I was going to feel doing that. Hopping off the bike, going to sit in a truck, am I going to get tight? Am I going to feel my body, the weight of like, oh my goodness, what a big day. But I zoomed past you guys, like I was gone, like I didn't even look at any of the construction workers, could care less of the stop signs. I just like head down.
Anybody saying anything to you?
My way. No.
You just went for it?
It was perfect timing between the last car and me going, and then they had to do a little construction thing, and I was just on the side anyways. So we got off the bridge and we landed this most beautiful, picturesque place. It's a lighthouse. It was important for me to stop here in particular because I want to take the moment in and look over at New Brunswick and be like, I just cycled all the way from Shediac, New Brunswick, to PEI. But it's funny, as a crew and I are standing there, we're all islanders, and none of us had ever really been on those grounds before. And we're standing there being like, this is truly the most picturesque spot. You drive past it all the time and it catches your eye, but I've never stood there. Okay, everybody, adios, amigos. Ugh. Here we go, bye. The next time I leave our island and I look at that lighthouse and I look at that beautiful picturesque moment, I'm gonna be brought back to that powerful moment standing there with the crew being like, wow, we just did that. This drive from the bridge to the cottage brings back so much for me. I can remember getting closer and closer and knowing I was gonna hug Ty and knowing that I was gonna see my girls, who I miss so much, and thinking like, how am I gonna explain to them? What am I gonna say? I was most worried about telling my sister. I just didn't want to break her heart. But look at me now. I also am singing that song too. I'm getting paper. Look at me now. We were biking New Brunswick side. It was relatively flat. Be a few little small inclines, nothing major. When we get onto the PEI side, I knew there were going to be hills, and I knew going in it was going to be tough. So here we are on the PEI side, very little shoulder for a bike, and we're hitting some serious hills. Hills are hard. I purposely avoid them in all my training. Like, I know now this is over, and we wonder what's the next step. Hills, practice.
I wanted to check in with her like a couple of times because I know that the bike, I don't want to say is her weakest modality, but at the same time, it's like, it's the one that she struggles with the most, and I knew it was like her longest ride ever.
I try and take as much speed into that hill as you possibly can. Love you.
All right, here we go. Downhill. Come on. Ah! My hand. That was rough. About 90 kilometers in, that the numbing was like starting to kind of annoy me, because you're holding your handlebars, and when your hand goes numb, I don't even know if I'm holding on anymore. Like, it totally loses feeling. So I often will take my hand down and I'll kind of run my hand down and try to just get the blood flowing again properly. It's constantly going through your mind mentally, is like, okay, move your hand, move your fingers, you know, keep the flow going. And a few times I kind of stand up off my bike to release the pressure off my bottom. The toe is so sore. I already lost that toenail and been trying to grow back, and I think she's gone again. At one point, I could feel my blisters. I could feel the rubbing. Yeah, I'd say she's a bloody mess in there. I honestly thought my foot was bleeding. It was sore. It was sensitive. I've always had hope that I would make it these 3 years. Always.
Great job, bud. What do you think of that view?
My goal is to get to 18 years. I believe that I can do that. But then you get little hiccups. I did it. Next scan, growth. Every single liver tumor just grew a few months ago. I think there's gonna be blood right through it. My treatment's an experiment. There's no proper treatment protocol for my cancer. I took the 4 little pills that I had to take every single day for almost 3 years. This med would create no sores to the point where I couldn't eat or drink. I was trying to train for this triathlon, and it kept getting in the way, and I kept getting pushed back.
She just had no energy, like none. Like, she'd be in her house coat all day, in the cottage, on the couch or on the chair.
So who remembers last triathlon? And I put my wetsuit on backwards, like even like zippered it, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Deciding to stop these meds was scary because we didn't know how my body was gonna react. We still don't.
There's a question mark there that we'll probably have an answer to in the near future, but we're thankful for how she's feeling right now.
The point changed when she started really training for these triathlons. I'm thinking, okay, she's doing it, getting stronger by the day. And yeah, I think this year was the biggest eye-opener that I'm going to have her around for a long time.
I'm going to need you here, hon. Help me shimmy this because I'm so
The first time that I actually saw her swimming with a swim coach, and she was producing like pretty decent numbers, I was like, what is happening here? She's not going to just live, she's going to live forever.
We had to deal with the tide. That was the hard part, is the tide was going out. So taking the Sea-Doo, getting me out further to the boat, I can feel the waves. The Sea-Doo was rocking in these waves, and I was like, oh no. We have come so far with my swimming. Like, I don't know if people understand how poorly I would swim.
Good luck, Mom.
When she jumped in the water, I was like, let's finish the job. I thought to myself, like, this ends here. This is done.
I remember thinking, like, no one's making me do this. Like, I could easily just hop on that boat and be like, I'm done.
My biggest fear for her was the swim, because we had looked at the ocean that morning. It was kind of ripply, and that's her hardest part of all of this, is swimming, you know, in rough tides. And I witnessed it, and it is difficult.
Like, you just never know, right? What's out there, and the tide and the current. It's just a lot. Like, I think sometimes we forget, like, she does have stage 4 cancer amidst all of this.
We're about a quarter of the way through the swim. She's doing great, looking strong. She's trying to get her home.
With the swim, your head's down, and you can't really chat. You also don't really know where you're going. There wasn't any communicating for almost that 51 minutes.
We're not even taking into account. She just ran and bugged from Moncton.
Yeah, shit ton.
Unreal.
I remember at one point with the boys in the boat, I heard them say, "Go home, Michelle, it's time to go home." And I look up, and I could see my cottage, and I could know that my kids were on that beach. And then Ty looks over at me and he said, "It's time to make that final turn." He said, "Go home, Mama."
When I first saw that boat come around the point, I was overwhelmed with happiness. My anxiety went down quite a bit. I was so proud of her, and I thought, she has done it again. She has shown that cancer does not define her.
I'm swimming and my hand scooped sand.
I'm touching the ground. Is that it? That's it, girl.
Good, bud.
That's it.
I remember that that sand in my hand, and I was like, yes, yes, I did it. Woo!
I'm always proud of Shell, but for her to do that was unbelievably badass.
When I finished swimming and I looked up and Ty and Alexis are there, it was perfect. He grabbed my hand and he pulled me in and we just embraced each other and we just hugged, like, wow.
I saw her walking so strong, and the smile on her face, and the smile on Ty's face. And then they just held hands, and my fears were all over. It was just such a proud moment for me again.
When I'm walking up there with her, it's like, wow, look at you. Look how far you've come. Look what you've done. Like, look what you've done for yourself. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I will never not walk on this beach or stand here without thinking about that moment.
give you a hug, Missy?
I kept saying I'm doing this to rewrite my story. In the middle of the event, I realized I'm not only rewriting my story, but I'm repaving that road. And I did just that. I did it. And I think everything's just beginning. So we're going to my friend Laura's house. Supposedly she has something for me. She's been a huge help for me in my triathlon training. Like, I literally think I nailed my fueling plan because of her.
She surprises me every week. I'm just waiting around the corner. What's going to come next, Michelle? What are you going to do next?
I don't know what it's going to be, but I know something's, she's just going to like see somebody do something and be like, I could probably do that. Or get me roped in and involved in this somehow, or I don't know what it's going to be, but like, again, I'll know my lane and I'll stay in it.
Thank you for all your help. Thank you, thank you.
So proud of you.
Thank you. I heard you have something for me.
I do. I loved it. Honestly, really, it felt refreshing. Yeah. It made me feel alive. It felt good.
Terrifying for me, but anyway, here we are. We're almost at the end.
I feel like the possibilities are endless, like of what I can do. I'm crying because I'm so proud of my body.
Talked about a lot of roadkill that we saw. We saw a pretty gnarly raccoon.
Dead raccoon. That makes nice footage right there, love.
Oh, is Steve gonna drive over him?
Yep.
Oh, Johnny's gonna drive over him.
I think he saw him at the last minute.
To get the 2 kilometers in, we might want to start cutting in once we get to 1650 meters.
I have like no idea under what circumstance like a Mountie would just like, I'm gonna let this ride.
Wouldn't it be fun to see him again and ask him, like, why didn't you pull us over?
Yeah, exactly.
What happened?
Maybe he's like, you know what, you were so bold with that guy in the back that...
I honestly cannot get over how incredible I feel. I think this like fueling plan that my friend Laura gave Ty, and I'm following it like to a T, it's making such a difference. This is my fastest cycle I've ever done. Feels good. Oh, that feels good. I can't believe we just did that. Seeing all these names, fellow EAT cancer patients, the ones that cancer stole and the ones that are still living, some who can't move their body like this, it really carried me.
I'm just unbelievably proud of the woman that you have become, and I've said it a few times, like, you are not the same person that I married 12 years ago, and that's a great thing. You've grown unbelievably. I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you.